Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Learn with Virali. I'm Virali, your guide on this PMP adventure. In today's video, I have 25 sample drag and drop questions in order for you to test your knowledge and understanding while you're getting ready for your PMP exam. So make sure you download those list of 25 questions attached in the description below in the PDF format, making sure that you try to solve it on your own and come back to this video later on for checking if you have done it right or not. But please make sure to have a timer right beside you so that you don't spend up more time solving few questions in respect to others. So let's get started. So the first question is match the following in terms of the process group along with their primary focus, wherein we are given 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. So let us start by the easiest one. Whenever you encounter such a problem, please use the similar approach. Like I can right away mark closing as the administrative closer. Initiating is definitely going to be the project authorization. Planning comes in to decide the detailed roadmap in terms of the project. Executing is to create a deliverable, that is to execute the roadmap that you have created. And monitoring comes in terms of performance monitoring. In question 2, we are asked to match the risk strategies. Now we have 4 different types of risks: avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. Now we are given certain examples over here wherein we have to match the respective risks in terms of the example given over here. So for avoid, I would just like to say you are avoiding the risk. That means you cancel my risk vendor. In terms of transfer, you are transferring the risk to a third party. That's where you are purchasing insurance in terms of transferring it towards the insurance vendor. Mitigate is to reduce the level of risk, as in you add a backup server. And accept is wherein you accept the risk and you are documenting it in regards to this example given over here. So please make sure you understand each of these risk strategies and apply the concepts accordingly. So in the third question, we are given the power interest grids, wherein we are supposed to understand how should we inform these type of stakeholders, whether in regards to they hold a high power or a high interest, or high power or low interest, and vice versa. So let's start. Now, the first one is high power and high interest. So in that case, I need to make sure that they are the most important type of stakeholders for my project. So I have to manage them very, very closely. So this is going to be mapped with manage closely. Next, high power and low interest. For them, I have to keep them satisfied. For low power and high interest, I have to keep them informed. And then for low power and low interest, I am just simply going to monitor these kind of stakeholders as they are a part of my project. Okay, so in the fourth question, we are given the agile terms wherein we are supposed to match it with its respective task. Let's say, for example, we are having a sprint. Now, all of us pretty much know that sprint does last for at least 2 to 4 weeks. So that's where I'm going to map it with 2 to 4 week iteration. Daily stand up, that is what we do every day. In case if we are following the agile methodology, that's where it's a 15-minute status call. What did you do today? What are your impediments in regards to any blockers that you have from yesterday, and what's the status of the task that you're working on? So that is what is daily stand up all about. Next is product backlog. Now product backlog is a kind of priority that you set that you are going to be working on these tasks for this particular sprint. So that's where we can say that it's a kind of prioritized requirements that we match up for delivering it during every sprint. Retrospective is definitely to look back and understand and jot down certain lessons learned during the sprint execution, like what went right, what went wrong, and how we can improve better for the next sprint. So that's where I'm gonna map this retrospectives to lessons learned. For the burn down chart, we only have the work remaining, and that is what the burn down chart talks about. So in the fifth question, we are given certain tools and we are supposed to match it with the purpose. Let us start with the Pareto chart first. So Pareto chart is the 80-20 analysis. Fishbone is nothing but the root cause analysis that we do for a problem statement. Next, the easiest one is control chart, wherein it helps me to see how stabilized a process is. So process stability is what I'm going to map with the control chart. Next, I have histogram, which gives me the frequency distribution in regards to a problem statement that we are addressing. And the last one is the scatter diagram, which is going to show me the correlation analysis for different variables in the project. So in question number 6, we are supposed to again match the tools with their purposes. I have over here submit, evaluate, approve or reject, implement and verify. And on the right hand side, I have confirm changes, work, change control board decision, complete change request form, update baseline, and impact analysis. So first, I can see the easiest one over here is approve or reject is definitely the change control board's decision. That's where any change request is going to be confirmed or rejected. So I'm going to map approve or reject with the CCB's decision. Next, in order for me to evaluate a change request, I'm first going to understand how it is going to impact the current scenario of the project, or how my project timeline needs to be adjusted in terms of schedule, in terms of cost, and so on. So for evaluate, I'm going to evaluate the impact, that is the impact analysis. Next, in order for me to submit the change request, I'm going to complete the change request form. Implement is to go ahead and update the baseline, that is where you implement the changes, and then verify is to finally confirm that your changes are working well. In question number 7, we are given certain methods and we are supposed to match it with the respective use cases. So the first one I have over here is analogous. Now from the meaning or the word analogous, I can understand that is going to be similar to the things that have been done before. For example, we have two fruits, apple and oranges. Both belongs to the fruit category, but they have their own tastes and their own features in regards to them being apple and orange. So for analogous, I am going to map it with quick high level estimate. Like we can look at the use case and understand as we have done this kind of a project before, and we can give a high level estimate. For parametric, parametric means based on certain parameter. So that's where I can determine the estimate based on cost per square foot. Next is bottom up. Bottom up is to give the detailed package for each of the project that you have been working on. So that's where you create detailed work packages. 3-point is where there are uncertain conditions in your project. And then expert judgment comes in when you are using a unique kind of a technology and you require certain experts to help you out. So that's where expert judgment has to be mapped with unique technology. So in question number 8, we are supposed to match the given structure with their characteristics. So that's where I'm going to first start with functional. Functional is where the project manager has a limited authority. So that's where I'm going to map it with limited PM authority. Next, we have strong metrics. Strong metrics is where the project manager has a higher authority. So that's where we're going to map it with high PM authority. Projectized is where the PM or the project manager has a full control. So that's where we are going to map it with full PM control. For weak metrics, all of us know that project manager and the staff does work part-time. So that's where it's a part-time project management tasks that you do. And in the balance metrics is where you share certain authority in regards to managing certain projects. For question number 9, we are supposed to match the conflict resolution techniques along with their situations. So for collaborating, we are going to collaborate in regards to solving a complex technical issue. So that's where I'm going to map it with complex technical issue over here. Next I have is compromise. I'm going to compromise based on the resource allocation. Next, I'm going to withdraw in regards to having a minor disagreement. For maintaining relationships is definitely going to be a smooth way to do that, or it's a conflict resolution technique when we maintain effective and healthy relationships, making it more smoother to manage. And for force, it's definitely going to be certain emergency decision that has to be forced during the project execution. So in question number 10, we are supposed to match the contract types with the scenarios that we are given over here. So first, I'll look at the given contract types. I have fixed price, time and materials, cost plus, unit price, and fixed price incentive. Please remember that these kind of questions are definitely going to be showing up in your exam, so you understand each of these terms. If you need more examples, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll be very happy to help you out with any kind of clarifications or examples that you need in order to better prepare for the exam. So first, I'll look for the contracts which are easier and I can mark it right away in order for saving the time. So for unit price, I know that it's going to be in regards to per user or per unit software licensing. Next I have is fixed price incentive. That is, if I deliver it early, I'm going to get a bonus or an incentive based on the contract that I have. Next is cost plus. Cost plus is going to have to deal with research project with certain uncertainties. Next is times and materials. So that's where it is going to be in regards to the support services in terms of the scenario. And the fixed price is definitely going to be a well-defined website development. So that's where these scenarios are attached to these different kinds of contract types. Prepare well for your exam and I'll see you in the next video. So for question 11, we are supposed to match the performance domains with their descriptions. Here we have project environment, process, people, and delivery. Now, in order for us to solve it in a faster manner, we know that people is something to do with leading teams and the stakeholders. Process is to follow the established processes. Delivery is definitely meeting the business objectives. That's where you deliver a version of the product or a small MVP, which is minimum viable product. And the last thing that remains is the project environment, which is to understand the organizational strategy. For question number 12, we are supposed to match the EVM terms with their meanings. EVM stands for Earned Value Management. Now here we have EV, which is definitely earned value, and that's where that means that is the value of the work that is completed or earned, the value of work that is earned or completed. PV stands for planned value of work. AC is the actual cost or the money spent for doing that particular task. BAC is the total budget at completion. Please remember these terms. These are going to be definitely showing up in the exam. In question number 13, we are supposed to match the leadership styles with their situations. Here, we are going to start with definitely coaching. Coaching is you help somebody to develop some new skills. So that's where coaching comes in, developing skills. Directing is to direct the newer members who join your team to follow a particular approach. Supporting is where it comes with the experienced team that require your support, so you support them. And delegating is to delegate the task to a high performing team. So in question number 14, we are supposed to match the tools with their usages. So let us start with the easiest one first. Now I see that S-curve is something that I haven't come across before. So I'll just start with the things that I know at the very first time when I see the question. So histogram is something that I know is meant for resource allocation or frequency distribution. Next is network diagram, helps me to sequence the activities that I'm supposed to complete. Next is Gantt chart, which is to do a schedule visualization as a whole. And then the last thing that remains now is S-curve, which is for the cost tracking. So make sure you address the question in these manners as it helps you to save a lot of time, wherein if you need more time on other questions, you can utilize them and get your PMP cleared at the very first try. In question number 15, we are supposed to match the agile terms with their definitions. So let us start with the sprint first. Sprint is definitely a fixed time iteration. Typically about 2 to 4 weeks is what we call it as a sprint. Next we have backlog. Backlog is the prioritized requirement list, as in what are the tasks that needs to be completed for delivering the product to the client. Next is velocity, is the amount of work that is completed per sprint is termed as velocity. And then last we have burn down, which is definitely the amount of work that is remaining and we keep a track of it. So that is what is a burn down chart. Please remember these terms as they are going to show up onto your exam. In question 16, let us match the cost terms with their descriptions. Now, as we all know that there are different kinds of costs like direct cost, fixed cost, variable cost, and indirect costs. Now, fixed cost is something that I know is going to occur regardless of any work that we do. So that is constant and it occurs regardless of the work that we do. Next is variable cost. Variable is based on the changes that happen. So we can say that it changes with the work volume. Indirect cost is the cost with the overhead expenses, and then direct cost is specifically attributed to the project. In question number 17, let us match the communication types with their examples. Now, we have different types of communications like horizontal communication, vertical communication, formal and informal types of communication. Formal communication is something that occurs with the stakeholders in terms of giving them the status reports. Next is informal communication, that is the team chat messages. Horizontal is the communication that occurs at the same level. So that's where I can say that maybe between the peers could be considered as a horizontal communication. Vertical communication can be anything in regards to communicating with the upper management or the people that are either at the lower level than you or maybe higher level than you. So that's where the vertical communication is meant over here. In question number 18, we are supposed to match procurement types with their descriptions. So we have different types of procurements like RFP, RFQ, RFI, and IFB. So first, RFP stands for request for proposal. RFQ stands for request for quote. RFI stands for request for information. And then IFB stands for invitation for bid. So in question number 19, we are supposed to match the closing activities along with their outputs. So for sure, I know that lessons learned is supposed to be knowledge transfer or knowledge capture, that you capture it in certain records that you can revisit it later on. In regards to releasing resources is definitely to do with the team reassignment. That is, the concerned team members are either moved to another project that is ongoing or a new project is started. So that's where we consider it as a reassignment. Next is to archive records. That is to do with the documentation storage. You archive it properly. And then the final report is to do with the performance summary. So that's where you map these kind of closing activities along with their outputs together. Question number 20 is a very good question in regards to us to understand like what is the role of a scrum master, what is the role of a product owner, a project manager, and so on. So let's try to match these roles with the responsibilities. First, I'm going to start with the project manager. All of us know that the project manager is responsible for overseeing scope, schedule, cost, quality, and an overall stakeholder management. So that is the entire task of a project manager. In regards to the development team works to deliver a certain software product or whichever project that they are working on. So that's where they collaborate to deliver potentially shippable increments. Next comes is the role of a scrum master who actually protects the team from the outside interruptions. And then we have the product owner, which is the last role remaining over here to be mapped up with the person who defines user stories and the acceptance criteria. Okay, so in question number 21, we are supposed to order the Tuckman's ladder, that is the 5 stages that we have in Tuckman's ladder. Please remember that this question is always showing up in the exam. So make sure you understand these 5 stages that are a part of Tuckman's ladder development process. So let us start with the first stage. First stage, usually we go ahead and form the team. So that's where it's the forming stage. Next step comes in is to storm or to brainstorm the things that are supposed to be done. Third stage is the stage of norming. Fourth stage is the stage where you perform the tasks to complete the project, and the fifth stage is definitely the adjourning stage wherein you finish up with the project closure activities like knowledge transfer, lessons learned, and then team reassignment later on. In Question number 22, we are supposed to match the terms with their descriptions. Make sure you jot these terms down and try to remember Parkinson's law, student syndrome, drop baton, and self-protection, making sure that you don't make the same mistake again in case if you haven't mapped these terms properly. Let us try and start first reading up different descriptions given on the right hand side. We say that team members pad their estimates to protect themselves from a potential delay. So that is nothing but a self protection. Next is work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So that is how the work is expanding. Okay, let me read the next option, which is people start to fully apply themselves to the task just before the deadline. So that is what is happening towards a normal student lifestyle. So I'll say it as a student syndrome. That is, we sit and procrastinate a lot at the back and then try to work on the task like when the deadline is pretty much near, or let's say if I have to submit the assignment probably at 12 at midnight is the deadline, then I'll sit the day before and try to work on the assignment. So that is nothing but the student syndrome. Next I have is a delay or a failure that occurs when the responsibility is transferred between the team members. And I have two options now for me to choose for dropped baton and Parkinson's law. So work expands to fill the time available for its completion, and then I have a delay or failure that occurs when the responsibility is transferred between the team members. Drop button is when the task moves from one team to the other. So that's where I'll map this with the delay. And Parkinson's law is where I'm going to map it with the work as it expands to fill the time that is available for its completion. In question number 23, let us match the document with its descriptions. So I have EVM, which is the earned value management. Okay, WBS is the work breakdown structure, and resource leveling is to manage the number of tasks that are assigned to each resource or each person assigned on the project. So for resource leveling, I can map it up with adjusting the task assignments, that is, to make sure that no person is burdened with more amount of work and somebody is just sitting and doing nothing. So that's where I'll do a resource leveling. WBS is the work breakdown structure, which is going to help us to manage the task more efficiently by breaking it down into smaller chunks. So that's where I'm going to map it up with breaking down project deliverables into manageable tasks. And EVM stands for measuring the project performance and progress against the plan. So that's where you will understand by calculating CPI, SPI, that if your project is in a good stage, that's where if it is ahead of the schedule or if it is behind the schedule or if it is already more in terms of the cost that was assigned to finish up that particular module. So that's where you'll understand by calculating SPI, CPI, CI of the project, making sure that you know where is your project standing or how is your project performing. Alright, so in question number 24, we are supposed to match these three different styles of project management methodologies along with their tasks or the descriptions given on the right hand side. So here I have agile, hybrid, and traditional, and then on the right hand side I have iterative or incremental development, then burn down chart, and the scope baseline. Pretty much all of us know that traditional project management focuses on to having a scope baseline because there the project is fixed in regards to what needs to be done and when. So everything is fixed, and that's where I can develop a scope baseline based on the traditional project management. In regards to agile, I'm going to be dealing with a burn down chart. That is, the work that is remaining is supposed to be tracked somewhere, and that's where the burn down chart comes into picture. Now I have hybrid, which is left, and definitely it is going to be iterative or incremental development. That's what comes up under hybrid project management methodology. In question number 25, we have a similar scenario like the previous question, wherein we have hybrid, agile, and traditional project management methodology, which is supposed to be mapped to different descriptions like if it will have a risk register, it will have adaptive planning, or a balanced team structure. Now, talking about traditional project management does respond to having a risk register. Hybrid project management is going to have a balanced team structure, that is, half of the team is going to be for performing the traditional project management, and half of them are going to be agile. So agile comes up with the adaptive planning. So that's where a minimum viable product is always developed whenever you work with the agile project management methodology. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comment section if you need any more explanation in regards to each of these 25 questions, and I'll see you in the next video.